Hey everyone, Cobb once again, and welcome back to the next movie review and back to reviewing the Transformer films, which has come to an end, thank God. But now to review of the next one the last one is the 2018 spin-off Bumblebee. Like I said, released in 2018. It's a prequel, but I feel like it's kind of like a reboot, but it's a prequel because they have the agency Sector 7 that was in the first Transformers film is in this. So it does feel like a reboot, but it's a prequel to the first movie, 2007 one. But like I said, the continuity in this series is discombobulated. Like certain things that's like what they're that, and it's discombobulated just as much as the X-Men continuity in those movies. But anyway, Bumblebee from 2018. Now, I will say this. I said before, I liked this film. Now, back then when it first came out, I was kind of trashing it, But first because I had no interest in, because I had enough of the Transformer movies, especially after the last night. I thought after that I had enough with the Transformer films, so I didn't see it until years later. So it was 20 like years later, maybe was it a couple years or so, a couple years ago or so, when I finally got to watch it. And to my surprise, if the people think I say I hate everything, why I'm so cynical on films, which for good reason, because majority of films of nowadays suck. Especially this year in 2025 has sucked. But I'm saying, just people say I hate it. Well, I like this movie. It's another film of the Transformer films I like. So now, is it perfect? No. Is it a couple of nitpicks? Yes, I do. But yeah, overall, I did like Bumblebee. I was surprised by, because I thought for a reason, I thought it had a good heart to it. It was more of a step into the right direction compared to all the previous ones, and I do like the lead character a bit more. Actually, I liked her much more better than Mark Wahlberg. Or I mean, I like Shia LaBeouf. I don't hate him, but there was a couple of inklings in the films that he was kind of going off as a dick, though. But which I mentioned though, but I think this girl Haliee Steinfeld, I liked as the lead more than Mark Wahlberg, and I probably a tad bit more than Shia LaBeouf. But I thought she did good. And when this film came out, it came out around the Christmas time in 2018. Of course, in that time, in that month, you had Aquaman playing. So, but came out though. It was the lowest. It is the lowest in the grossing one in the live action franchise. Um, of all live ac- of all the live action films, it's the lowest grossing one. It made over 400 million worldwide. But on the flip side, it got the most critical praise. It is easily the highest praised Transformer in the franchise. It has a 91% Rotten Tomatoes, way above all the other ones in the franchise. Way above all the other ones. So, calling it the best Transformers of the franchise, yeah. But like I said before, once again, I don't care for the 80s animated movie. Now, what I mentioned was I do like what I didn't mention before, or the other times I mentioned it, but I do like the soundtrack. I do like most of the songs in it, except for the one that was played by Weird Al Yankovic, which it just seemed it did not fit. Weird Al Yankovic, a Transformer movie, that did not fit at all. It was so out of place. But I do like some of the voice cast. I like Leonard Nimoy. Pierre Cullen was back then was Optimus Prime was good though, but I did not like the characters. I did not like the story. Just especially the character by Judd Nelson got Optimus Prime killed, and a lot of other ones, and a lot of characters got killed. So I did not I'm one of the few people that did not like the original Transformers animated movie. The first one from 2007 I liked, but it's flawed though. But when it first came out, it was a big, huge spectacle when it came out. I liked it because I got it. I was like, hey, I saw it in the theater. I was like, hey, it was kind of fun when I saw it in the theater. But then when the sequels came out, years all the combined of years later, the humor, the overblown action sequences, everything else in between. I've grown to not like this franchise. I don't like Revenge of the Fallen. I don't like Dark of the Moon. I hate Age of Extinction, and I hate The Last Night even more. That is the worst one in the franchise. Out of this whole franchise, it's easily the worst one. And then I like this film, and the one that came afterwards, Rise of the Beast, which was I don't like it, but out of all the ones, that was the most forgettable. Rise of the Beast was the most forgettable ones of the franchise. Do people remember that film, which came out a couple years ago? Does anybody remember the film? I don't hear anybody talking about that movie. This shows how forgettable that movie is. But I mean, all those films, the score, like the music by Steve Jablonsky for the first one was good, right? But then his score got pretty much became like the same all of the other sequels. There's some good practical explosions from Michael Bay, which we likes doing that though, which I do appreciate. But the human characters, the jokes, and a lot of times like when people are Autobots are Decepticons are dying, it's hard to tell who was who. I mentioned before, it's like who is that? Who is that? And a lot of stupid ideas. I mean, Age of Extinction and even Last Night were both just one big clusterfuck. I mean, Age of Extinction was way too long, almost 3 hours. The finale in China or Hong Kong, it felt like all the action combined total felt like it was 2 hours long in and of itself. Last night's the whole stupid thing with the whole King Arthur and Stonehenge and everything else in between. It was another big clusterfuck one after another. So, but I did a mega rant on that one, so I don't need to go into it though. But after that's why during the time when this came out though, I skipped it because I pretty much had enough of the movie. I had enough of this film. I had this franchise. But then now, sometime later, like a couple years ago, I finally got around to watch it. And you know what? I was surprised by. I was surprised myself that I actually liked this one because I thought a lot of things it did right compared to the last few movies. You know. So probably I would give credit to director Travis Knight. He directed the animated film Kubo and the Two Strings. I don't do I remember watching the film? I don't remember because I know one of the voices was Matthew McConaughey, and George Takei was also one of the voices as well. So, but do I remember? It's been quite a while since I saw that. I don't think I remember watching it though, but I do know those two voices were in it. But here I give props to Travis Knight for this film, and a lot of things I think it did right compared to the other ones. I think it was a step in the right direction. I thought it was kind of compared to the shit I've seen in this franchise, it was refreshing in a way. But the thing is, though, they all screwed it up when they went the same way. At least they all screwed up. They screwed up again when they did Rise of the Beast. It's like they went. This was a step in the right direction, and all of a sudden they went back to going backwards with Rise of the Beast. So, but getting into this film, almost 9 minutes in. So the film, okay, it takes place in 1987, and we see the beginning of this film on Cybertron, and now with the between Autobots and Decepticons, it was easy for me to see who it was because all the ones like I said, they all pretty much all look the same except for Bumblebee and Optimus Prime, because they're colors, right? But I was easy to see which is who and who. I couldn't tell because they all look like the same color. So I could see the difference between who was who. That's one thing. And I liked the action. I thought one thing the action I thought was good. I mean, we see Bumblebee we see because Bumblebee pretty much didn't do much jack of whole out of a lot of things in pretty much the last previous movies, and here he was more of a badass in this movie. While fighting on Cybertron, he rips a Decepticon's head off, kicking it onto another, and blasting. Optimus Prime got his moments too. I mean, he didn't get thoroughly as beaten to shit like all the previous movies. Think it was nice to see, you know. And so, it part of me wishes I wish this could take place all the way on Cybertron and on Earth though. But thing is though, this all the CG stuff it costs a lot. That's why they put in human characters because it's cheaper, you know. But part of me wishes that wish it would have been on Cybertron, like the anime movie that came out last year, Transformers One, which I do like that film too as well. But so one thing leads to another. Bumblebee escapes. He crashes to Earth. Now let's say this is the first Transformer to land on Earth. This is where the whole continuity is screwed up. You know, the timeline stuff. They say that this is supposed to be like but he's supposed to be the first to land on Earth, right? But then it's like the whole thing with the last night with back in the Middle Age they were around since the Middle Ages with King Arthur, and then that they were around since the age of extinction where they caused the dinosaurs extinction. See, this is what I mean. You know, it's just the whole timeline of this stuff is old. Or the first time they came to Earth in the 2007 film with the Optimus and the rest. You know, I'm like, please, if someone can understand this whole entire timeline, please explain it to me, please. But he crash lands there. One thing, he had his own voice. We got to it was nice to see him. He was talking with his own voice for once, but it does explain how he got messed up though. So he crash lands onto Earth, and he was supposed to establish a base there. Optimus Prime told him to establish the base there and keep it safe. But he crash lands is near where the government agency, like the troops, led by John Cena, who's the leader, who's acting on this, you know, from the first movie. You know, John Turturro was the head of Sector 7. But you do see that character, but pretty much like a younger version, because it's not John Turturro of his character from that film, but much younger though. Here it's John Cena. Now you know how much I've said before how much I feel about John Cena, right? To me, he should not have been in the movie because, like I said, I'm not a fan of John Cena. To me, yeah, he should not have been in the movie except for him. He he's he's not one of the problems of the movie. He's not, okay. I keep saying that. I know the last previous films I said, oh, except for John Cena, you know. Yeah, that's one of the reasons because I don't like John Cena. I don't. To me, he's one of the worst actors for a wrestler turned actors, or just a shitty actor in general. Because I pretty much hated everything in his movie except for he was manageable enough when he voiced Ferdinand in the anime movie. I did like him as the Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad. Okay. Here though, if I had to say, okay, I know I nitpick a lot about him, but if I really had to be honest, okay, I thought here he was tolerable. Okay, he didn't act that horrible, not cringe inducing to me. Okay, so if I'm being perfectly fair on John Cena, he was tolerable in this movie. Okay, so I give a little bit of a kudo to John Cena. Okay, if you want to be perfectly fair on him, okay. So he was average enough. Okay, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna start kissing his ass. He's a great actor. No, okay. Because other films I thought it was absolute shit in. There was that comedy film called Blockers or Block. I think it was called Blockers, where he had something from a beer keg and has it shoved up his ass. Or Playing with Fire. But here I thought he was average at best in this. Okay. So yeah, he leads a Sector 7. They see Bumblebee crash. They go after him, run in this forest, and there's this Decepticon that followed him. He fights him, and he ends up ripping out his voice box. That's how his voice got damaged. He kills the Decepticon, puts a missile in him, blows his ass up. But then he escapes, and that's where it gets is in San Francisco because yeah, it is because on the poster you see the Golden Gate Bridge. So we have this girl, the character. Charlie. Her name's Charlie. Um, with her. She's with her family, which that's one nitpick I have. That I didn't care. I didn't care about her family. I mean, her mom, her stepfather, and her little brother. I thought the little brother was annoying, and the mom has this whole thing kept pushing about, oh, smile, smile more, or is the stepfather? But I didn't care about her family. But there was this thing where her dad died, and she has this like whenever she went, she like has thing about diving, right? Diving into pools, right? But when her dad died, she had a little trouble not doing it though. Ever since her dad died, and she's almost kind of like in a way she's a loner, and that's when when going through a junkyard, and that's where she meets Bumblebee. He's disguised as an old Volkswagen, fixes him up, and that's when they start bonding. In a way, this became like a Transformer version of the Iron Giant, which in a way I think I could see why. So, which I can definitely see why, and I think some people call it the same way. It's like a Transformer version of the Iron Giant, and I think that was a nice touch. That's why I thought that had the heart was in the right place for this because of the bonding between the girl and Bumblebee, in a way how the boy was in the Iron Giant. So, and that was one of that was a nice touch with this movie. And the jokes, okay, thank God there were no fart jokes, there were no piss jokes. There was no cringy humor that I saw. So, but if there were jokes, it weren't anything like those. No crude jokes, I would say. Well, that's one positive I can say about it. The humor, it was like light humor, right? Not crude dark humor. No, it was more of a light humor. So that's what I do appreciate. It didn't go any more of those dumb, stupid jokes. Like one of the old Decepticons, like from Revenge of the Fallen, it fired out a parachute and you hear the sound, or you see one of them has a pair of balls. No, you don't see that either in this, thank God. And so, the lead villain is the Decepticon named Shatter, voiced by Angela Bassett. Angela Bassett, starting from a few of the Mission Impossible films. Of course, the Black Panther films as T'Challa's mom. I've seen her. Of course, I've seen her among other films as well, though. But Olympus Has Fallen, the sequel, Supernova, quite a few other movies as well. She's the lead. She's a villain named Shatter. But I do like the fact that those Decepticons come down. Like I like how they're being smart about this. Like they come to the humans and they pretend that they're the good guys. They're the good guys. We're the one who wants peace. They tell the Bumblebee he's the villain. He's the one who wants to destroy your world. Let us go get him. Which they do though. And I thought that was kind of like I thought that was kind of a nice idea. How okay, the Decepticons they pretend to be good guys to outsmart the humans, so they pretend to be good. And then Bumblebee, he's the villain. We need to get him. He's one. You're the one. He should be. He's the one that you should be after. I do kind of like the idea how they kind of flip the script on that. Okay, hey, let's pretend we're the good guys. I did kind of like that. I do kind of like that idea. I thought Angela Bassett. I thought she did fine as the villain, Shatter, and a couple of other. There was a couple of other ones who voices the other Decepticons though. But I thought Angela Bassett is one that stood out the most though. We do see Peter Cullen coming back voicing as Optimus Prime. You see him later on in a hologram. And so throughout this movie, like I know there's we saw the action in the beginning, but people also say there was not much action later on, if you look sprinkled throughout though, but not much though. And once again, focusing more on humans, less on the Transformers. They do the kind of same in this in a film called Bumblebee, which should be about Bumblebee. And some of the song choices I do like. Of course you have In Touch. I got the power in Touch. Or you do hear when they're checking through cassettes, you do hear Rick Ashley's "Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down." I'm surprised like they didn't throw like "Eye of the Tiger," from Rocky 3. If you want to see him train, if you want to see him train, right, in a montage, right, trying to get himself back up on his feet, on shape, and I'm surprised they didn't probably do like, "It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up through the challenge of our rivals." I'm surprised they didn't throw that in there. But yeah, it was the song choices I did like in this movie, and so and then I do at least I do, although I don't care about her family. Oh, by the way, Haliee Steinfeld. If anyone doesn't know who she is, she's been in a couple of other films. I mean, she first pretty much got her breakthrough role when she starred years back when she starred in like the 2010 remake of True Grit with Jeff Bridges. She was the girl that Jeff Bridges was trying to protect, Rooster. And later on, she starred in the Pitch Perfect sequels, but probably she got probably people well known. Probably she started in the Marvel MCU TV show spinoff Hawkeye. She plays Kate Bishop. She's Kate Bishop, the one that looks up to Hawkeye as her role model. She's the one who's basically she becomes the female version of Hawkeye. That's basically what people would see her as. Yeah, so she's the lead in Kate Bishop in Hawkeye. Now I don't care about the show. Although I do like Jeremy Renner though, but I just don't care about the show because, like I said, I'm too burned down. Because majority of these MCU TV shows suck. I don't like WandaVision, especially I hate the She-Hulk. I don't like the Secret Invasion, or what was the other one? I don't care about Ironheart. Definitely don't. What was it? Oh yeah, I don't like the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. I don't like that show. I reviewed that, so I hate that show. Yeah, but Haliee Steinfeld, people are all, if you see her in this film, you probably, oh, that's her from later on starring in Hawkeye as Kate Bishop. So, and when Bumblebee does get into action, he does a couple of cool things. I will say that. Hold on a second. Where's my pause on this? Something I know I hate doing this on camera because it's just like, oh, why do I do this? But why do I do this beforehand? But then with John Cena, and then but of course there's this whole thing where they supposedly die, they get brought back to life, like in this film. It's like with Optimus Prime when he died in Revenge of the Fallen, but then they have this like the Matrix leadership that brings him back. It does the same thing in this. We see that Bumblebee he gets killed, but he ends up getting brought back to life. And then I think he goes back at the end. He goes back with Optimus Prime. Well, no, no, no. Sorry, no. That was a different thing. No, no. He Optimus Prime thanks him for keeping it safe, right? And so that's what I think that was at the end where he sees the hologram of him. And so that's where I think it's where he stays on Earth. That's why later on in the 2007 film why he was on Earth. I think so. Because we saw other Autobots fly from meteors in the 2007 film, but I think we didn't see. Did we see Bumblebee come down to Earth? I don't think so. Because I know we saw him as when Shia LaBeouf bought him from Bernie Mac. So, but overall, yeah, I liked the Bumblebee. It was to me, it was a nice surprise by it. You see, I always want to be surprised by a film, Yeah, I do say negative things beforehand, like I did in the past, but sometimes a film proves me wrong, right? I was kind of trash talking, especially 2013, while I was kind of trash talking about Pain and Gain and White House Down and World War Z. When I saw them, I was surprised by. I surprised I liked those films. 2013 Pain and Gain. I mean, Michael Bay, right? Mark Wahlberg, but I was surprised by. I was surprised that I liked White House Down. World War Z also surprised me. Even despite the fact that most of the zombies are all a CGI fest, though, but the whole rest because I like Brad Pitt and I like the whole usage of some ideas I like, but I liked World War Z. But this film, back then, that's why I skipped seeing it because, like I said, I had enough of these films. So then up until a couple of years ago, when I finally saw it, wow, I was surprised by, because I think they went the right direction, making more of a light-hearted tone, no crude jokes, and like it was like a version of the Iron Giant, which I did like that, and I did like a few of ideas, and Bumblebee acted like a badass, and same with Optimus Prime, but more focused on the human characters again, like I said, more than the actual titular character, right? But I didn't like her the character Charlie. I didn't like care for her family, her brother, mom, stepdad. I think it was more should focus more on Bumblebee and John Cena. I know, but I think he was average in this movie. Okay, he wasn't great. I thought he was just average, tolerable for me. Okay, he didn't act that horrible in this movie. So if anyone says, "Oh, I just said it right," he was not that horrible in this movie. He's been horrible in other films, pretty much most of the films he's done, but not in this movie. I'll be perfectly fair to him. Okay, in this movie he was fair. Man, that's another best way to start. He was fair in this movie. And I did like some of the ideas. I did like, when Bumblebee, got some badass moves. And I did like the idea that the Decepticons came down to deceive the humans, that they pretend that they're the good guys, and that Bumblebee, he's the villain. So I did kind of like that idea. So, but overall, yeah, and I can see why. I think was the change in tone more than the stuff they did in the last few movies. That's why critics like this film more. That's why it's much more. It's the highest rated of the franchise. Now it didn't make as much money as all the previous films did, because it's starring just Bumblebee mostly. So without the other leads ones, probably wouldn't have. But at least it got more praise than all the other shitty movies I've seen. But the thing is, though, then they just go back to going backwards because of they did shit like Rise of the Beast, which I did review that. I did around the time 2023, right after when it came out. I reviewed that film, so I don't need to I don't need to revisit that film again. So I've had enough of this film series, though, overall. So you can still check out. I think it's still on there. Go check out my review of Rise of the Beast, my rant on it. But thank God this is the last one for I'm reviewing, because I reviewed Transformers the animated film one. I reviewed that one. Maybe I'll eventually further down the line I'll review the original animated '80s movie. I'll further down the road. But for now, I'm done reviewing this because it's been a chore to sit through all these movies. And one thing I was surprised by. This is a much shorter movie. This is under 2 hours. This is under 2 hours minus end credits. It's under maybe what 110 minutes. So it is a much shorter movie. I was surprised by, compared to all the other previous ones were over like 2.5 hours, close to 3 hours for Age of Extinction. And the beginning, the first 30 minutes, I would say went by at a very brisk pace. I would say. So yeah, this film was definitely much faster paced, and I didn't get bored with the movie. The action was not overblown at all. It was much shorter. It didn't feel like an hour long. I think I prefer the lead character better, more than Mark Wahlberg, and overall maybe more than Sam Witwicky or Shia LaBeouf. I mean, I thought she did. I thought Haliee Steinfeld did a good job. I would say they handled Bumblebee much better than they did in the previous movies, because I felt he barely did do much of anything in the last few movies. So here he got this one. He got the time to shine, Bumblebee. So yeah, overall, yeah, I despite some nitpicks, I did like Bumblebee. So I do give it a solid praise for this. If I had to rate it, maybe I'll give it maybe 4 to be honest, because if it was for those nitpicks, I would say it's like if I give the first Transformer films, the first Transformers from 2007, I'll probably give it like 3.5. Maybe more. Think about it. Maybe but the thing is though, maybe I'll give it 4 because the 1 star I give out because of the stupid nitpicks I have, like the piss jokes and the other stuff, you know. But yeah, but overall, I just don't care about this franchise overall because three of the 9, all the Transformer movies combined, there's 9. There's been 9 of them. Okay, another 9, I liked 3. That's not good though. So 3 of the 9, that's not good. So overall, I don't like this franchise still enough because especially mostly from the shit from Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, especially Age of Extinction, and even more so on the Last Night. So even though I liked Bumblebee in the first 2007 Transformers films and, of the live action films, I would say, of the live action films, I still don't like this franchise at all. So, but because one of the things was to sell toys. That's another one of the big things was to sell toys. A big marketing thing for Hasbro. So overall, yeah, I did like Bumblebee overall though, but just overall this whole franchise I just don't like anymore. Well, especially I hate growing to hate it though, but for the film itself, for Bumblebee, I did like. I gave it a good solid praise, and I did not hate John Cena in this movie. Okay, being totally honest, he was fair to watch in this movie. So overall, that's Bumblebee. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching my review of this. Finally getting this franchise out of the way. I've wanted to review for a while, but never got around to it though. So hope you enjoyed my review of this franchise. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more to come. And we'll see you next time. Later.